Hey Ghoul Gang, and welcome to the Hot Ghouls Club. If you love true crime and creepy cases, click follow so you never miss an episode. As always, I'm your host, Jamie.
And I'm Tara.
Yeah, so it's like a development
But that's on
story.
Long Island?
That's in Cambridge. Is it Cambridge or Woodbury? Something. It's in Connecticut, I think.
Woodbury is Connecticut.
Yeah.
Cambridge, I think, is Massachusetts.
Yeah, Cambridge is Mass. That's like where like Harvard or Yale is or some bullshit.
Yeah.
They're honestly the same font to me.
No, they
font?
absolutely are.
Font,
But
yeah.
I think a part of Massachusetts and Connecticut are the same font, and then a little bit further is like the feral Boston, Massachusetts people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's the
That
Scholar
sounds like,
Massachusetts and then the feral street people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, which they literally can't disagree with that.
No.
Don't come for us.
Like
you know
it's
true.
It's true.
Do you want to bring us in?
All right, let's bring us in.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording. Hey guys, welcome back to the Hot Ghouls Club. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Tara, and today we have a guest host.
Hi, I'm Lexi.
Welcome, Lexi. Welcome.
What up?
Welcome, Lexi. Welcome.
Lexi is a devotee of the Ghoul Gang.
Long-time listener.
Long-time listener. First-time caller.
I should have called it.
I know.
Put me up front right now.
He's like one of those cartoon villains.
The fact that he always frowns when he smiles, I think should be telling.
Did you know when you Google his name, it says senior advisor to the president of the United States under his name on the
I'm
internet?
pretty sure that's
on the
how he
Google?
hired him, yeah. Like he gave him the job. He just made it up
I
and
don't-
said, here you go.
Yeah. Like you're okay,
was
so
gonna say, that's
you
not
just
a
give
thing.
him like advice? You're his buddy?
You're his
Your
buddy?
friends?
He's
Is
like,
that
we're
what
going to
you're
make this
trying to say?
official.
You need to pay your friends. Okay,
Oh,
that's what it is.
okay.
Okay. We got there.
Tracks.
For both of them. Okay, well, we're speaking of sinister, vile people.
There we go.
Ah,
We
hey.
are going to talk about another special person today. So I'm doing the case for everybody. This is Tara. I am going to be doing the case, so let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
In 2010, Larry Ray would enter the lives of 4 college students and change the trajectory of their lives for the next 10 years. Larry Ray is the father of Talia Ray, a student or a former student at Sarah Lawrence College, and during her sophomore year in 2010, her father moved into her shared college apartment on campus with her 8 roommates.
Her dad moved
Why?
in with her?
Yep, just buckle in. Larry was an ex-convict that was released from prison in 2010 after serving time for kidnapping his daughter Talia, which violated his probation from prior convictions of fraud. Talia was Larry's biggest supporter and advocator, and she would be the link that would bring Larry into the lives of Santos, Daniel, Claudia, Isabella, and eventually Elitza and Felicia. This experience would start in 2010 and would not come to a conclusion until 2022. So how does a 50-year-old ex-convict move into his daughter's college dorm and over the course of a decade completely manipulate, exploit, and break down a group of young adults? This case is as baffling as it is horrifying. So buckle up because it's going to be a wild ride. Okay, do you have questions before we dive in?
Okay, so first of all, who...
So already shocked.
Yes.
Okay, love that.
So I don't understand how...
You guys are like, wait a minute. Back
How
up.
old is she?
When this all starts in 2010, they're sophomores in college, so they're like 19.
Yeah.
19.
And it's a shared dorm of 8 girls, you said?
No, it's boys and girls.
Oh, boys and girls.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll get into sort of the house. It's like a house on campus.
Yeah.
Like an apartment with
Yeah.
8 individual bedrooms.
So is the mom like not in the picture?
No.
And you
Oh.
said he had kidnapped her earlier in life?
Yeah. Well, she was a willing captor. But him and Talia's mother got divorced in 2004. She did have a younger sister named Ava, I believe. And Larry had, like, I guess you could say programmed Talia and Ava to tell the courts that the mother was abusing them. Talia went along with it, but Ava, like, had said, like, giggled and said, "That's what Daddy tells me to tell you." So it's obviously false.
Yeah.
And so the mom won custody, and Talia was like a teenager at the time, so she went into homeless shelters rather than not be with her father. You're gonna have questions about Talia and Larry's relationship for sure.
Yeah, I already do. I
don't get too in depth in it because
feel
there
like there are
isn't-
like some...
There isn't a lot of info on it because neither of them talk about it. And even in, I'm going to be referencing Daniel Levin's memoir. He's one of the victims. This is his memoir. Even in the Hulu documentary and all of the other sources, there's like a Wired article, there's a New York Times article, there's a Variety article. There's quite a bit of information on this, but none of it is from Talia's perspective. From what I know, she has not come out and said, anything.
Well, she seems to be good at that.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, I definitely see not great relationship
Already.
between them.
Slightly inappropriate.
Like,
Oh, okay. No, they feel
Heavy on
like
the
it's a great
inappropriate.
relationship.
Yeah.
No, they love their relationship.
I'm
really
sure
healthy.
they love it. I'm
It's
sure
super
they
healthy.
love it. No, yeah, I don't think that's good. No, I think that's bad. I think okay.
All right. So, let's get into Larry Ray and his
Okay.
life before Sarah Lawrence, which he was never a student at. Just want to say that. Okay.
Right.
So, before Larry Ray became the ringleader of one of the most bizarre modern-day cults, he was just another scam artist from Brooklyn.
Of course.
Born Lawrence Greco in 1959 in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, New York, Larry spent his early years there and in New Jersey. There's little information about his adolescence, which likely means he didn't do anything remarkable, or at least nothing that would explain his later behavior. After high school, Larry joined the Air Force, lasting a grand total of 19 days before being dishonorably discharged. I don't know why. There was no information. I already saw the question.
19 days.
Honey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honey.
From there, he reinvented himself as a businessman, rubbing elbows with the New York elite. He dabbled in insurance, Wall Street, and even owned a couple of nightclubs. The guy had a knack for weaseling his way into circles of power. One of his biggest claims to fame? Arranging a meeting between Robert De Niro and Mikhail Gorbachev, the former president of the Soviet Union.
What, Robert De Niro.
What the fuck is happening?
And that was confirmed.
This seems like a fever fucking dream.
Yeah.
It is. While that's an impressive footnote, it didn't mean he was powerful himself.
But like, why? Do you know what the meeting was for?
No.
It was just in one of his nightclubs.
It was just...
Just that I got two people here at the same time.
Larry became friends with Gorbachev's translator. I forgot, I don't know what his name is. And that was a way that he kind of helped get Gorbachev into meetings with Robert De Niro. I don't know where Robert De Niro came from. Robert De Niro even has, I saw in an article said, I had no idea who this guy was, and I thought it was so weird that he was arranging the meeting. He was more like a professional middleman, somebody who knew someone who knew someone. He also claimed to have arranged a meeting between Gorbachev and former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
What is happening? What?
So many things.
What is?
Yeah, but here's the catch. While Larry could introduce important people, no one seemed to find him important enough to keep around. Slang.
Love.
Larry cultivated relationships with some significant figures, including former New York City Police Commissioner Bernie Kerik, who played a major role in post 9/11 law enforcement. And they did have a very genuine relationship. Like, they met in the 90s. Larry was Bernie's best man at his wedding.
Oh, wow.
But their relationship fell apart in a spectacular fashion, leading to one of Larry's more persistent pathological lies, his claim that powerful enemies were after him. And so by the early 2000s, Larry had fully embraced his con man tendencies, and in March 2000, federal prosecutors in Brooklyn indicted 19 individuals, including Larry, for their roles in a securities fraud scheme. Larry was accused of arranging a $100,000 bribe to a bond brokerage executive. He tried to paint himself as a whistleblower, but prosecutors argued that he was more of a compulsive liar than a helpful informant. And that's like the main reason his relationship with Bernie Kerik dissolved, because it was in 2000, and this was obviously pre 9/11, but Bernie was on the come up, working as in New York City as a police chief, really working on his political career, and Larry was like, you have to help me. And he's like, I can't help, I'm not going to put my neck on the line to help you get out of something that you did.
Yeah.
And so Larry, for years after that, would spin that Bernie is the reason all of these bad things happened to him, because in 2004 is when his wife filed for divorce and claimed domestic violence, and then the custody battles ensued. He claimed that Bernie and his wife were having an affair, and they were brainwashing the daughters, and they were he even claimed that the mother was sexually abusing the daughters. He was making some fucking claims.
Damn.
And Talia went along with all of it.
That's fucking.
And so I do have mixed feelings about Talia, because she is his first victim, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Him and his sister, her and her sister.
Yeah.
But she's a mini Larry, through and through.
I feel like there's gotta be at least the sister was like, no, what you're doing, Dad, is kind of fucking wrong.
Well,
right?
she was also younger, so I think it's a little harder to manipulate them, because if they're asked the truth, they might just tell the truth.
Yeah.
Talia knew she wasn't telling the truth, but I think the way, and I think I do get into this in the podcast, is the way that So during the whole custody battle and court dealings, he had a psychological evaluation from a court-ordered psychologist, and they said that he is impossible to evaluate. He has total control over all situations and is able to manipulate himself out of them, what makes it almost impossible for even the most seasoned psychologist to evaluate him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's like that was, yeah, so that's what it was said, and then...
He has peak manipulation.
Peak. And he is just able to spin things. It's just... And I don't think that he's crazy. I just think it's one of those people, like Lori Vallow, who convinces that, or who just believes themselves. Right.
Yeah.
They believe themselves so much, you can't convince them. And I don't think it has to do with him being mentally unwell. Mm-hmm. It's just he has this whole philosophy of truth and this and that. And so... as the custody battles were happening, he was also still on probation from that fraud charge. So he wasn't put in prison. He had like a certain amount of years of probation.
Okay. Yeah.
And he kidnapped his daughter Talia.
During that time.
During that time, which was a violation, obviously, of his probation.
Yeah.
Which put him in jail, which by 2010, Larry was out of prison, jobless, and had no place to stay. And that's when he turned to his daughter Talia for help, essentially.
But he didn't take Ava? Ava's the other daughter, right?
Right, she didn't want to go with him.
Oh.
Talia was a willing victim.
Yeah.
She always was. Like, she never really questioned her father, like, ever. She spoke so highly of him.
I'm sure she probably does have part of whatever that gene is that's making him that manipulative kind of like psychopath. She probably has a little bit of that herself. So, like, they're almost like creating and weaving this world that fits them the most together. Which I still think... is probably going to be highly, highly, highly inappropriate. I love you, Daddy. I love you.
Why is that the voice?
They would call each other honey boy and honey girl.
They would not.
Foul.
They would.
Immediately
I
to
not.
jail.
Almost threw up a little.
I lie not.
Honey boy and honey girl.
And he also did that with another one of his victims. They would call each other honey boy and honey girl.
Oh, Talia probably didn't
His
like that.
girlfriend.
I would be pissed. His girlfriend? Eh.
He called his girlfriend and his daughter the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
I equally love you both just the same.
And you, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Okay. So let's get into Sarah Lawrence College and him moving into what is called Sloanham Woods 9.
Okay.
Where is Sarah Lawrence College, Gina?
Sarah Lawrence College is a small liberal arts college just outside of New York City.
Oh.
It has a reputation for attracting free thinkers, artists, and let's be honest, some socially awkward students trying to find their place. Their slogan, "You're different, so are we."
Oh, wow.
So it was the perfect environment for someone like Larry to embed himself.
I'm going to land myself up in
They're
this
like, so
bitch.
you're vulnerable, come to us.
Yeah, literally. He's like,
it was
beautiful.
the perfect breeding ground for
That's,
Larry.
yeah, that's so
Perfect.
fucked up.
Wow.
That's so That's so brilliantly fucked up. That's
So
crazy.
brilliantly fucked up. So in 2010, Talia was living in Sloanham Woods 9, a dorm with 8 individual bedrooms, a shared kitchen, and a common area. So from my understanding, which is kind of similar to like what my college is, it had dorms and then it had little pockets of other dorms. Like mine had like the new apartments, the old apartments, and alumni apartments is what we would call them. And so they had something like that called Sloanham Woods. So there was multiple houses, and Sloanham Woods 9 was a dorm with 8 individual bedrooms, which is a fucking dream in college.
Yeah, that sounds kind of amazing.
I don't know how many bathrooms. I'm hoping more than one, and then like a kitchen and a living room.
Yeah.
And Talia actually arranged all of them to live together. So she convinced her. She convinced her roommates, Claudia, Daniel, Isabella Santos, Gabe, Max, and Juliana, that her dad was an incredible man who had been unfairly wronged by the system. She painted him as a wise, loving father who had powerful enemies trying to take him down. And when she told them he needed a place to crash for a bit, they didn't think twice about letting him in. I personally would have.
I would have thought
for
many
sure.
times.
Many times.
Like I don't know if you're aware of this, however, but your dad is like double our age, and I would just rather would not.
Over that. He was 50 at the time.
Foul. A 50-year-old living with a 19-year-old.
Like walking around in a
Like,
robe.
Talia, get your fucking broke ass, fat ass out on them streets, ass.
He would go, in the beginning, he would go between either sleeping on the couch or sleeping on the floor in Talia's room. His things were always very orderly. Like, I saw pictures of them. Like, his, like, you know, like shoes were in a row.
I fucking hate seeing him.
in the living room.
Yeah.
Well, what started as a temporary stay quickly turned into something much more sinister. Larry played the role of the cool dad at first, cooking for them, cleaning, offering life advice. But it didn't take long before he began weaving a web of lies. He claimed to be a Marine. He wasn't. He claimed to have been instrumental in the Kosovo ceasefire. He wasn't. And he claimed to be on the run from a corporate government officials. Again, he wasn't. And he slowly started to pull some of the students in deeper. So, just talk about some of those things. Obviously, I already talked. So, he claimed for years that he was a Marine. That's why he was so orderly. He knew how to live the Marine lifestyle, through boot camp. And there's somebody I don't bring up a lot because he's not in the other documentaries or the articles or things like that. But he was brought up in Daniel Levin's book. This is a guy named Iban. He was not a student. He was somebody that Larry kind of brought into the mix, that they served together. So Ivan's also a fucking liar. And that's how they knew each other, through the Marines. So he also hung around in what we will later talk about is the New York City apartment. It gets worse. So it gets worse and worse and worse. So he always lied about that. The Kosovo ceasefire. So in 98 to 99, there was a war between Yugoslavia and some of the people of Armenia. And it came to an end with NATO intervention and a ceasefire. And a lot of people were involved in the ceasefire. And what that means is, obviously Larry maybe had some connections into, the Russian officials, knowing Gorbachev's translator. So he maybe arranged some phone calls. And one of the guys who was handling the operation wrote letters thanking people for their involvement. So he carried that around like a badge of armor. The guy has been recorded saying he wasn't that important. It would have happened with or without him. Did he make a phone call here or there? Yeah, but a lot of people did. Yeah. So he would always saying he was a Marine because he spent 19 days in the Air Force. Yeah. He takes stories and he exaggerates. He takes whatever little grain of salt he can find. Yeah. And he builds and he builds and he builds to make himself seem like a very important person. Mm-hmm. And to impressionable 19-year-olds who are, admittedly maybe a little quirky and weird, who are depressed,
clearly beat at their own drum,
their sexuality, who are just questioning who they are in life. I mean, us at 19, away from college, away from your parents for the first time.
You're the pinnacle of trying to figure out who you are at your core. Yeah. And just building those blocks up from literally nothing. So this guy is I feel like I've never heard anybody like him.
Who's your stereotypical cult leader?
Yeah, but I feel I don't know. He just, yeah.
And what is interesting about this, and I don't really get into it, is it's called the Sarah Lawrence sex cult. Mm-hmm. Obviously sex is going to be involved. But people have opinions on whether or not it's a cult, because it's not like they were following some sort of shared belief or philosophy. It was all just following him. Mm-hmm. And the way that he would be able to he was just so sure of himself, and they weren't sure of himself. Yeah. The way he walked, the talk, the way he slept, he ate, he did this, he did that. He was so sure that everything he did was exactly the right thing.
Mm-hmm. I just feel like having that mass following of 19-year-olds is so diabolical to a different degree. Because there's Jonestown, and there's Joy's religion cult that we went over.
Oh yeah.
And that's for me, usually when I think of a cult, I think of almost adults being able to make them their own their own ideas. Decisions. And they're oh shit, yeah, I want to follow you into Jesus land, this is great. Mm-hmm. But for this guy to kind of find his niche to be inside of this college, and to be what I would love to do is to get a small gaggle of 19, 20 something year olds that have no idea what they're doing with their lives, and I'm just going to be what they're doing with their lives.
But do you think it was premeditated in that way, or he just went really
I think it was like a blip of a second of an idea that he wanted, because this guy seems almost like he lives his life on a day-to-day. He doesn't seem he even thinks twice about what he's doing. But I think when he does what he's doing, he puts his whole Badussi into it. Mm-hmm. He's
I'm going to stop you right. I 100% think it's premeditated.
I think him
and Talia
thought about it,
in a sense, because Talia had a lot of communications with him while he was in prison. She's the one that arranged all of them to live together in Slonim Woods 9. The guys, it was Daniel Santos, Gabe, and Max.
So she kind of picked out who she was,
I think so.
Inviting into...
she, yes and no, because she had some control over it. Not the 4 guys had lived together, and Santos had been friends with Talia and Isabella, so that's a connection.
Was this pre to her dad coming in that she figured all these out? Or
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, but she was in communication. You're saying she was in communication while he was in prison
with him.
But, and I was thinking that
freshman
this
year.
is post all this. Like he's after. Okay.
No, it was 2010 when he came into their lives, but she was still
yeah.
having communication with him. And like Claudia, who becomes very important in this, knew Daniel through classes, and this girl Juliana.
Okay.
But Gabe, Max, and Juliana had nothing to do with the cult whatsoever. Like they were kind of like, okay, like they, you know, call a spade a spade. They had no real desires. Maybe they had better home lives, maybe a better head on their shoulders, you know, whatever the case is. And I know you mentioned something about like how it being adults and things like that, but in the eyes of the law, they are adults. And there was people calling the police and making claims. Their parents tried to intervene with police. They tried to talk to them. And, you know, even if they did do welfare checks, they would come back saying that they're there of their own volition. They're willing.
Yeah, there's not much that you can do.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Crazy.
It's very sad, and it gets horrible. And so one of the first to fall under his influence was Isabella. Isabella and Talia had become best friends during their freshman year, and that friendship extended to Larry. And to kind of like show you how, so Daniel in his book describes when Larry first comes to Slonim Woods 9. And he comes in, and I don't know if he came in with the very intention of staying that night. He came in to see Talia, right? And he had a couple of people with him. He had this guy, Iban. He got this guy, Lee Chen, who he had been friends with, I think, either through prison or the Marines, whatever the case is. And obviously Talia runs into his arms and hugs him and, you know, all this stuff. And she kind of stays, like, right under his arm as he's addressing everybody else. And then she introduces him to Isabella. He gives her a big hug, and Isabella's under his other arm. You know what I mean? Almost like it's his other daughter.
Yeah.
And so he took a special interest in Isabella, praising her intelligence and kindness, and also how much she had been there for Talia over the past year. Like, that was what it was. Like, you've been there for Talia through so much. I'm so appreciative of you, you know, all this stuff. So he started lending his services to Isabella.
What does that mean?
So he offered to help her work through her personal struggles, including her history of sexual abuse.
Sir!
Soak it in for a minute. We have a licensed psychologist, licensed social worker here.
Mental health counselor. That's
Mental
why I was
health
like,
counselor?
services.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, I love that you're here for this, because you're going to love it. So at first, he framed it as therapy. He would spend hours alone with Isabella, guiding her through her trauma, convincing her she needed to embrace her sexuality to heal.
Wait, what was her sexuality? Oh, he means
just being a
okay.
sexual being.
As a woman, yeah.
Having sex, being more free.
It's like my face is like, I'm disgusted. This
He
is
made
crazy.
her feel special, like almost like she was maybe his protege or something special to him, someone destined for greatness under his guidance. Soon, she was skipping visits home and spending all of her time with Larry, eventually moving into a one-bedroom New York City apartment with him and Talia. But Larry wasn't just a father figure. He became something much more disturbing in Isabella's life.
Was that the girlfriend that you were talking about? The Honey Boo and Honey girlfriend?
No. Oh,
yeah, no. I'm like, who? So the New York City apartment that I mentioned before, and the one that I just said, she essentially moved in full time with Larry and Talia. So between 2011 and 2016, Larry used the New York City apartment as his base of operations, and it became the center of his psychological and physical control over the group. The small one-bedroom unit was cramped, often housing multiple people at a time. At first, it may have seemed like a communal living arrangement, but soon it became a space of totalitarian rule. Your guys' faces are amazing.
they're still in college at this point, or no?
Yes, because 2011 ends sophomore year, and a lot of what happens typically happens during, or at least that's what it seemed like during summer break, winter break. Even like they would have, from my understanding, they still had dorms on campus, but they would spend most of their time in the apartment.
Gotcha.
Sleeping there, going to class as needed, if they could even get to class.
This is fucking crazy. Like, he's moving fucking quick.
Super.
No, super quick. Super quick. Because Isabella wasn't, like, at Slonim Woods 9, Isabella wasn't the only person who had these long sessions with. He wormed his way into Claudia's mind, into Santo's mind.
Now, do you think, like, Talia was, like, specifically targeting friends that would have these kind of, like, super vulnerable...
She might just attract that type of people, because I think Santos and Isabella,
trauma.
in the documentary, Isabella is described before Larry as a super shy, introverted person, very withdrawn, maybe a little bit artsy. She was on a full ride scholarship to Sarah Lawrence College, which is fucking impressive.
Yeah.
And then after Larry, she became more extroverted, more bubbly, would go out more, right? You would think, like, from an outside perspective,
like he's doing something
good.
Yeah.
He's giving her more confidence. He's making her, feel better about herself. He's helping her uncover this sexual abuse, which I think is a lie. I don't think there was any sexual abuse.
Really?
Yes. Yes, I'll get into what he does to memories. Because
oh my God,
Larry was the one that called Isabella's mom. I think maybe it was like spring break of sophomore year, to tell her that Isabella wasn't coming home for break. Mm-hmm. And she was going to be staying with Larry and Talia. And Isabella had experienced like severe sexual abuse as a child. And her mother was floored and shocked. Because although they didn't have the best relationship, like from what her mother describes, like they still had a relationship.
Yeah.
Like she loved her mother. Like I think they did have a good relationship. Like they were friends. And I think her mom had addiction issues, but she got sober when Isabella was in high school and things like that. And she never knew of any of this abuse, like no inkling of this happening.
Yeah. But all of a sudden it's all coming out after Talia and Larry get their little grippies on her. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. So Larry structured life inside the apartment around his rules, controlling every aspect of the victims' lives. And I'm going to refer to them as victims, because I was like, that was really...
Are they participants or are they victims? But
They're victims. Yeah. So he dictated their sleep schedules, forcing them to stay awake for days at a time as he lectured them on his twisted philosophies. He rationed food, at times locking the refrigerator with like a full-on lock, like a chain and lock, and determining who was allowed to eat and when. He even decided when they could shower or use the bathroom. His victims, deprived of proper rest and nourishment, became more pliable, making them easier to manipulate. So elaborate a little bit on that. They're all 19, 20-year-olds. They either don't have a job or they're getting paid in 2011.
And how many people are staying in this apartment again? Besides Talia and...
All at one time that would be staying in there was Larry, Isabella, and Talia in the bedroom. In the bedroom.
The bed.
That doesn't seem right.
And then at times... in the living room would be mainly Daniel on his own, but Santos and Claudia would stay there from time to time. And eventually Santos' sister, Yelitsa, and that guy, Iban. But Iban would go somewhere to sleep. Santos' parents lived in the Bronx, so he would go there to sleep. And Claudia grew up in New York City, so she had like an apartment she grew up in with her parents and had a room there, so she would stay there. So they would sleep over sometimes.
Yeah,
maybe if their sessions maybe got a little bit long. Mm-hmm. And like I said, in terms of controlling when they could or how they could eat or whatever... he would always have money for some reason. Like, he'd always have wads of money. I have no idea why. Like, he would say he had, all of these GoDaddy domains that totaled $28 million. He was doing, intelligence. He would lock himself in the bathroom in the morning with his laptop for hours, saying he was doing intelligence for, like, the CIA.
In the only bathroom in the apartment?
In the only bathroom. So that's how he would, like, dictate showers when using the bathroom. Because, like, you wouldn't want to go in case he came out and he needs to use it. Like, you were so afraid of doing the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm. Was he physically abusive when they did the wrong thing, like to correct the behavior? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. So one of Larry's favorite tactics was the use of prolonged therapy sessions, interrogations disguised as self-improvement exercises. He forced his victims to sit for hours while he accused them of betraying him, damaging his property, or working against him. Wow. These sessions often escalated into full-blown verbal and physical abuse, with Larry slapping or choking his victims if they resisted his accusations.
Oh my God.
So, and all of this is recorded.
What do you mean? Video recorded?
Video and audio recordings. Larry recorded everything.
Jesus
because in his mind, it was evidence that people were out to get him. They were damaging his property because he was getting them to confess. Like, because there was nothing else they could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's go over the pan incident. This is an incident in Daniel's memoir that I feel... I'll say something after that. So one morning, one crazy fucking morning, Larry instructed Daniel to make eggs for the group. Daniel, trying to do everything correctly, used a rubber spatula and washed the pan carefully after cooking. But when Larry saw the clean pan, he accused Daniel of scratching it. Larry's rage escalated as he forced Daniel to confess to intentionally damaging the pan. Daniel denied it repeatedly, but Larry didn't stop. He continued pressing him for what felt like hours, pushing Daniel to admit that his actions were an attempt to sabotage Larry. Under immense psychological pressure, Daniel eventually gave in, agreeing to something he hadn't done just to make the interrogation stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Larry then added the pan to a growing list of fabricated financial damages that his victims owed him. The list would eventually total hundreds of thousands of dollars, debts that Larry forced them to pay by draining their savings, soliciting money from their family members, or in some cases engaging in sex work to repay him.
But you said he sees it as an action of sabotage?
Yes.
But to what goal? What are they sabotaging him from?
So, with this particular incident, right before Daniel had started making the eggs, he had a phone call with his dad. And they were talking. They didn't have a great relationship. It was a little jilted. Daniel's mom had some health problems growing up, and he just had some resentment, in my opinion, just unworked out resentment.
Yeah.
And he was on the phone with his dad, and he was talking about something that him and Larry, how Larry is helping him and this and that. And his dad said, when I talk to you, when you talk about it, it sounds like you're brainwashed. It sounds like you're in a cult. So it's not like these parents were totally blind to what was going on.
Yeah.
But these were kids. These were 20, 21, 19-year-old kids. You don't really have that much. I mean, you don't have any lawful power over them. You can't tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever, right? That happened.
Also, you don't always know to what degree. I'm sure he's only sharing a very baseline of what's happening.
Yeah.
And in their mind, everything they're sharing doesn't seem wrong.
Yeah.
Because they're convinced, because they're seeing everybody else go along with it too.
Yeah.
He's seeing things
it's your friend
this.
Group.
He sees this happening to Santos, has it happening to Claudia, and then seeing them admitting it, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Larry was pushing his head into the pan, making him look into it, squeezing his thigh, some physical and mental intimidation.
Yeah.
And so he was like, why did you do this? Why you scratched the pan because you wanted to hurt me, in a sense. You wanted, these are my nice things. I open up my home to you and you destroy my property. And so he's like, oh, well, I was on a call with my dad and he made a mention that we're getting brainwashed and this is a cult. And he's like, good, but that's not it. That's not what I'm talking about, right? Larry was so delusioned. He was like, and this is going to sound crazy, you saw Claudia, sophomore year of college, talking to Bernie Carrick in your dorms, talking about hurting me.
What the fuck?
How'd we get there?
And would he even know who Bernie even is?
He knew who Bernie was because Larry would tell them, because he blamed Bernie Carrick for all of the bad things that are going on.
Yeah.
Literally.
And everything. Daniel never saw this.
Yeah. No.
Claudia never did this.
No.
But they had, unless they relented to it, it wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
And everybody was already so brainwashed. Not that they were participating. I mean, no, they were participating in it. Just admit it, admit the truth, you'll feel better. If you admit it, then Larry can help you, blah, 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 all that stuff. So he eventually admitted to something that he had never done. Mm-hmm. And in turn, sabotaging this pan, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But it was also a way for him to have financial control over them.
Yeah.
Because during this outburst, in my opinion, he was like, Santos, look up how much this pan is from Williams-Sonoma. And he was like, it's $200. He's look up the set of pans. He's like, it's $1,200. He goes, that's bullshit. It was $1,800 when I bought it, and I don't forget anything. Isn't that right? They're like, yeah, Larry, you don't forget anything. Jeez. So he's putting a whole new set of pans. So you don't just owe me for the pan, you owe me for the whole set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there was other things that he would do as well that, what was really, all right, I'll go over that in a second, because this is why I think was one of the moments that I felt like I should note for Daniel, because of what I'll say in a minute. But anyway, one of the most disturbing aspects, obviously, of his control was the financial extortion.
Yeah.
Larry forced his victims to pay him absurd amount of money. Claiming they owed him for his damages they never caused. He kept detailed ledgers, tracking fabricated debts and using guilt to pressure them into calling their families for money, like I had mentioned. Mm-hmm. Santos's parents ended up selling their home to send Larry money.
What?
They gave him, they say, at least $200,000. Because their son is calling them saying, I'm destroying this man's property. He's letting me stay in his home, and I'm destroying it. Mm-hmm. And there would be... Larry started, obviously he was unhinged, right?
Oh
and
God.
Something I didn't mention, Larry's on Adderall, all the time. All the time. He's giving them Adderall, he's taking Adderall, he's loving Adderall. He's still a fat fuck for some reason, but he's always on Adderall. So he would also buy these huge pieces of, woodworking equipment.
Okay.
And put them in this one-bedroom apartment. With everybody's stuff, mattresses on the floor, him and Talia's shit in boxes, other people's stuff in boxes, and he would teach them how to, sand wood the proper way, right? This, extreme.
It's so fucking unhinged.
It's so unhinged.
Everything that this guy is doing is like the most unhinged thing that I couldn't even think to do.
You wouldn't even think.
Like,
Yeah.
And so
like, what?
they're tiptoeing around all this equipment, you know, and he would just fly off the handle. Like, if he saw, like, something on it, like, he would say, you scratched it, you destroyed it, you did this. Like, why did you do this? Why are you trying to sabotage me?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help you.
And it's also interesting that all of his things that he's always buying that's like potential stuff to be damaged in these apartments is always like the most
High-end.
expensive
Williams
high-end
Sonoma?
thing.
Come on.
Like, yeah. You're not going to Walmart. Like, dude, you live in
but
a one-bedroom
that
apartment
was a big
too.
thing,
Like,
though, about him.
he needs the best of the best.
So this is like I didn't put this in, but like I'll tell you, but this is weird. So something that he did, so to kind of put it into context, so how Daniel, even though he was a roommate, really got involved with Larry is that I think he was maybe talking about having relationship issues with somebody that he was having, maybe talking to Santos and Claudia, right?
Okay.
They're like, you should talk to Larry, he'll really help you, you know, blah, blah, blah. So we asked Larry if he could talk to him, and he said, yeah, like, let's go get coffee one day, this day, meet me there. They meet at a Starbucks. They sit there for 6 hours talking. And Larry even, like, he's so controlling from the beginning. And when you're so unsure about everything in your life, Larry's like, this is how you should drink your coffee. Put this milk in it. Put that in that.
Yeah.
You know, do this. And he would also be very flashy, like $100 tip to the baristas, like seeming like this, it's just crazy person, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's there for 6 hours, right? And then he's like, all right, you know, I forgot how it ended, but they were like, you know, let's go get dinner or something like that. So they go outside, and around the corner is a limousine that Larry has had idling with the driver for 6 hours. Inside the limousine, Isabella, Talia, Claudia, and Santos waited there for 6 hours in the limo. What? But that was his way of exerting, like, how you should be living, like, you should be making money to, like, have a driver, to have nice clothes. Like, there was this one incident about, like, Talia's, like, cashmere sweaters and how he buys her a new one every year, and her mom never wanted her to have them, and all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, he was very much into, like, seeming like he was this well-put-together, expensive person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
I just don't fucking get it.
Yeah.
This guy is so fucking weird.
Well, okay, gets even weirder. So Larry exerted control over Isabella, like I mentioned, who became his closest follower and dictated her sexual interactions with others, including Daniel. He manipulated Isabella into believing the sexual activity was a means of personal growth and a way to prove loyalty to him. Daniel, who had once confided in Larry that he might be gay, and I mean, I don't know how serious, but he's like, sometimes I think maybe I might be gay, was coerced into participating in sexual acts with Isabella at Larry's command.
And I'm sure Larry was there.
Larry framed it as an exercise in overcoming mental boundaries, stripping Daniel of his agency, and pushing him into deeply uncomfortable situations. So, the way that Daniel describes it as first is one of his first nights, or if his first night sleeping at the apartment, everyone goes, like, Claudia and Santos went home, Iban left, Claudia, Isabella, and Talia go to sleep together in the one bedroom all the time. The one bedroom. Just so you know.
Yeah.
And he's fucking Isabella. Sorry, I don't know if I said that, but he's fucking her.
Oh, he is.
All the time.
You didn't mention.
I'm so sorry. Isabella and Larry have a sexual relationship.
Okay.
And one night, Daniel's laying on the couch and he's out there alone, and Isabella comes out and gives him oral. Kind of like against his will, but not really.
Yeah.
And because he kind of felt like it was orchestrated by Larry. So
Yeah.
he felt very uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And that was a whole thing, but that kind of kept happening. Like, they were at a restaurant for Talia's birthday one night, and he made a comment about how, like, you know, I used to have, like, sex in the bathrooms at restaurants. You should be more free. Like, you know, when are you going to be young and have this body again? And so him and Isabella had sex in the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, it was, but not, like, Daniel was almost numb during all of this. He felt no connection.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Larry eventually invited him into the bedroom with him and Isabella, and they, all three of them, had a sexual relationship. Daniel never says that him and Larry had sex, but they would have sex with Isabella at the same time. They would watch porn together. Larry's preference as well. There was no mention of Talia ever being involved in this, but it's very weird to me that they would go in, the three of them, Talia, Isabella, and Larry, would go into the bedroom every night and sleep.
Right.
And
Yeah, like, it was such a point for her to always be in there.
I don't know if that meant, like, Isabella was having sex with Talia. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. This is like,
It's a lot to swallow.
It's a lot to swallow. It's a lot to, I don't know, to navigate. This guy is fucking crazy. And also it's like so sad because it's like he really, especially in Daniel's case, because I mean obviously we're getting to know what he went through the most.
His story is the most well known because of his book,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Like in the documentary, Santos and Yalitza and his sister Felicia are both in the documentary. I'll get into that. But Claudia's not in the documentary. Isabella is in the documentary, but I'll get into that. Talia's not in it. And they did speak to Larry, but they didn't feel that his voice needed to be heard.
Yeah.
So they did a whole interviews with him and then didn't even put him in.
They're like,
They put maybe like one or two like sound bites, but that was it.
Yeah.
They're like, no,
Yeah.
this isn't your show.
Yeah. Actually, no.
So Claudia, another victim, was manipulated into sex work to pay off her supposed debts to Larry. He and Isabella kept detailed records of every dollar earned, justifying the exploitation as a necessity to fix the damage Claudia had allegedly caused.
It's like a sex worker he made her be. Like going
Like
on
to
the
other
street
people or to
kind of
him?
do.
To other people.
Oh, okay.
In reality, she was being trafficked under his control, forced to hand over large sums of money while enduring physical and psychological abuse. They even set up a website that had like rates on it. They would force her to do this. They even forced Isabella and Larry went to her apartment one night and forced her to record a video that she was of her own volition. She wasn't being manipulated by Larry or anybody else. It was very disturbing.
To be a sex worker. That's fucking sucks.
Yeah, and so you're kind of wondering, okay, so what did Isabella maybe do? I mean, sorry, Isabella. Sorry, what did Claudia do that she owed all this money?
Right.
It seemed like even more money to Larry than the others.
Yeah.
So one of the most bizarre and disturbing moments of Larry Ray's manipulation came when Claudia, one of his most loyal victims, sent a shocking email to a large group of people, including fellow victims, Sarah Lawrence College officials, and even law enforcement. In the email, Claudia confessed to poisoning Larry and other members of their group with mercury.
What?
The email was long, erratic, and filled with self-incrimination. Claudia claimed that she had intentionally poisoned Larry, Isabella, and Felicia with mercury over an extended period, detailing supposed instances of contamination.
So this was Claudia, but Larry Claudia, as I'm assuming.
She apologized profusely, saying that she had done it out of jealousy and deep-seated hatred for Larry, and that she deserved to be punished for her actions. The reality, however, was far more sinister. There was no evidence that Claudia had poisoned anyone. No medical records, no physical proof, nothing to support the claims she made in her email.
Yeah.
Instead, this is a prime example of Larry's extreme psychological coercion.
What was the response of the school?
Nothing.
Not even to like look into it? Were they still going to the school at the time?
Yes, so during this time, and this is what I think is one of the... Honestly, I think one of the most craziest things is junior year of college. Both Daniel and Claudia studied abroad in England for the entire year.
Wow.
They did come home for winter break and spend a lot of time with Larry, but Larry was able to exert his power over them from overseas.
That's fucking crazy.
Claudia sent this email while studying abroad.
Oh my god.
Like, not even a whole entire ocean can get the claws of Larry out of their fucking spines. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. So that was really sad.
Yeah.
Larry had spent months planning the idea in Claudia's mind, convincing her that she had unknowingly harmed him and others. Through relentless interrogation sessions, he broke her down, forcing her to believe in a false reality where she was responsible for poisoning her closest friends. By the time she sent the email, she had completely internalized the idea, accepting guilt for something that had never happened.
And her friends were also like, yeah, you did it. No?
No, so Daniel remembers reading it and, like, he didn't put too much into it. He kind of was just like, okay, like, that's weird, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then the few people who she had claimed to poison, like, because she had claimed to poison everyone at Sloan and Wood-9. So, like, Juliana, Max, Gabe, even this girl, Raven, who was Daniel's ex-girlfriend. And they were like, at first, they're like, oh my god, did we get fucking poisoned? And then they were like,
I feel like
no,
we
there would
probably
literally be symptoms. Like, there's no way that they did that. But I believe one of the reasons besides the control was Larry used the mercury poisoning almost as an excuse for why, like, Talia and Isabella, and you'll learn about Felicia, like, would and Larry himself had health problems, because Larry's health also started to deteriorate. Like, he started having like bad teeth problems. He would like be putting like lidocaine things on his mouth all the time because he had cavities he wasn't taking care of. Like, you know, it was also like breaking their brain and making them not as smart as they were, as weird as that sounds. Like, I'll talk about Felicia next, but it was almost like a break from reality. So things were a little bit harder for them. Like, or at least that's what they would say. Like, that's why, you know, they couldn't do this. They couldn't go to law school. They couldn't do this because they're recovering from the mercury poisoning. So it was also like a scapegoat for why he essentially wasn't letting them go, in my opinion.
Right.
Clearly.
So the confession further solidified Larry's control over Claudia. With the email as evidence, he held leverage against her, using it as proof that she owed him for the damages she had caused. It also served as a tool to isolate her further. She had now admitted to a crime, and in her mind, there's no way out except through Larry. The event demonstrated the depths of Larry's manipulation. He can make his victims believe the impossible, forcing them to confess to fabricated crimes and reinforcing their dependence on him. Claudia's email was not just a desperate plea for forgiveness, it was a sign of how completely Larry had rewritten her reality. The New York City apartment wasn't just a place where Larry lived, it was his personal prison where he turned intelligent, ambitious young adults into psychologically broken captives, stripped of their autonomy and financial independence. And now I want to talk about Larry's relationship with Felicia. Do you have anything to say before I get into that?
Yeah, I don't know. I still like going back to like comparatively, like other cults with this guy. It's just like, I don't know. I just feel like it's so, he's just so aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like everything that he's doing is like, I guess obviously because I don't think I would like to think I wouldn't fall victim of a cult. I would probably like to think that I could see this guy's like bullshit like the second like he said anything to me. I mean, also he's a man, so
I mean,
that helps.
You
But
now would.
Yeah,
What
but
would you
at
at
19
or 19?
I know that's why like I would like to think I would be able to kind of like be like, even though an authority figure, I would like to think that I could kind of see between his lines.
Yeah.
But you don't know.
No, I don't know.
And that's why I do try to give some grace to the victims. I mean, a lot of grace to them. They are victims, and you know, as I like would tell, because I watched the documentary like a few months ago, and that's what like really got me into diving into this case. People are like, "Oh, that's so stupid." I'm like, I mean, they're kids. Me at 19, like, or you know,
because we're hearing it now, and it's like it's just he's doing the most to his victims, like putting what's her name, Claudia, into the sex trade.
Yeah.
Telling Isabella that she's had sexual abuse when she was younger, and now let's like explore that and get that fixed, have sex with me. It's just like, and then also with Daniel, like, oh, you might be gay, okay, so you're gonna start having more sex with this female.
So he was homophobic also.
No, he didn't come across like, I didn't see any of that, and it wasn't that he like thought anything was wrong with it. He just wanted to be able to tell Daniel for definitive what he was. You know what I mean?
I see. Okay.
It's like, if he was gay, it's like, you are gay. Or, I mean, I don't know. He probably was homophobic, honestly. I don't think it had to do with it either way, but it was just another way for him.
Yeah. I feel like I'm struck also by what you were saying at the beginning of what you just said. That it feels like 0 to 100. Like, was it 0 to 100? It feels like
because what year is this now? Is this still 2011?
Well, it's between 2011 and 2016. So
okay, so
it was. So we met them in 2010, and that's their sophomore year. So junior year is when Claudia sent out that email. So that's only maybe a year and a half later. A year.
Yeah.
And the sex trafficking, I think, happened a little bit later, maybe like 2013, 2014. And yeah, but I mean, it was only kind of between 2011 and 2016. Maybe up to like, I mean, it was 2011. It was really 2011 to 2020.
Yeah.
But people would start to break away.
Yeah.
Like,
because now they're getting older.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about them breaking away in a little bit, and like
them.
who broke, and well, because they came to their breaking points.
Yeah.
So let me talk about Felicia. Her name is Felicia, but she goes by like Felicia.
Felicia.
Okay. So Felicia is Santos's older sister. Santos is one of the victims. And it's one of the most shocking cases of Larry's influence.
Oh my God.
So unlike many of
this is also shocking.
I know. I'm like, most shocking. Bitch is a sex worker.
It gets worse. Oh my God. So unlike many of the students who met Larry through their connection at Sarah Lawrence with Talia, Felicia was an accomplished and highly intelligent woman when she met him. She was a Harvard graduate and a Columbia medical student working toward becoming a psychiatrist. She was ambitious, driven, and had spent years building a future for herself. But even she was not immune to Larry's manipulative tactics.
I was going to say that goes back to how the other people that were trying to evaluate what Larry has going on, like, psychologically, they're like, he's not a candidate. Like, even the most seasoned cannot do it. So although she is so, like, super smart herself and, like,
a Harvard
graduate,
Columbia medical school student. That's not easy.
No. But he said, I love a challenge. Well, I love me a good challenge.
Okay. So Felicia first met Larry through her brother Santos, who had already fallen deeply under Larry's control. At first, she was intrigued by his charismatic and authoritative presence. He painted himself as a powerful, misunderstood figure. Someone who had been wronged by the system and had a deep knowledge about how the world really worked.
Yeah, his favorite victim line.
To someone in the medical field who was used to analyzing human behavior, he may have even seemed fascinating. But Larry quickly zeroed in on her vulnerabilities. He convinced Felicia that she was in danger, that people were conspiring against her just as they had conspired against him. He used her exhaustion from medical school to his advantage, keeping her awake for long, grueling conversations that blurred the line between reality and paranoia. Slowly, Felicia's world started to shift. She stopped questioning Larry and began to believe that she was truly under threat. She pulled away from her friends, her colleagues, and even her family. And by the time she realized what was happening, she had already left her medical career behind and had become one of Larry's followers. So when Felicia met Larry, she was in California doing her rotations. She was in the final stages of completing her medical degree. They immediately had a romantic connection. She has even said it's like love at first sight. Like, so that she was like in her mid-20s.
Was he attractive?
No. I'll show you a picture. She was in her mid-20s. He was a 51, 52 at this time. And she said it was love at first sight. She really liked him. So they started a long-distance relationship. And obviously, she's doing rotations. She's still doing medical school. She's exhausted. She's stressed. This is also everything she's ever worked for her whole life. She's a first generation. You know, she wants to make her parents really proud, wants to make herself proud. And an immense amount of pressure, and he just saw that, and he was able to just crack at that. And so Felicia moved in with Larry and the others in the New York City apartment.
She left her rotation?
She left everything. She fled in the dead of night. He made it seem like there was people literally outside of her apartment hurting her because of his connections and everything. He sent a driver to pick her up, got her in a car, in a plane, flew her to there. He even destroyed all the paperwork that she needed in order to go back and complete it.
Wow.
You know what's crazy is that he uses that tactic to keep people awake for as long as they can.
Oh, that's a torture tactic.
That's a torture.
From, like,
and
Guantanamo Bay.
He used that on every single person. Every single person that's ever he's like kept into that apartment, he's used that tactic on it. That's one of those like easiest things to do to somebody to really like warp their reality, is just to keep them awake long enough, keep hammering the same fucking message into them, and eventually your brain is going to be too tired to be able to like process anything normally.
Yeah, it makes
this guy's
more
fucking
valuable.
hopped up on Adderall,
and they are too.
Yeah, he's like perfect.
So he dictated every aspect of her life, who she could talk to, what she could eat, and even what she could believe. She was subjected to the same interrogations and psychological abuse as the others, with Larry forcing her to confess to imaginary crimes and manipulations. Over time, Felicia's mental health deteriorated. The stress of Larry's control, combined with her fear instilled in her, left her anxious and unstable. She was one of the last to break away from Larry, and it wasn't until after his arrest that she was able to begin piecing her life together. It was through Felicia that I learned a little bit more about how Larry could manipulate them so easily, and that's why I don't think the claims that Isabella made were real. So, what Larry would do is...
The claims of Mercury?
Sexual abuse?
Or sexual abuse. What was...
I didn't believe Isabella's claims of sexual abuse, and definitely not Claudia's abuse.
From when she was younger?
Younger.
Okay.
Because this is what he would do. This is what Felicia said he would do. So you'd be having these conversations where Larry's trying to get to know you, and he would start asking you questions about your childhood, and you would start telling him about a memory you had, maybe when you were 3 or 4 or 5, and he would start adding his own details into the memory, and then he would have you repeat it over and over, or he would repeat the memory so often that you would believe that memory to be true, and that he would use that memory to define something that's going on in your life.
Yeah.
So the example she uses is one time her parents went away on vacation, and they came back, and they had a dress for her. They bought her this beautiful, like, white dress. Maybe she was, like, 5. She was young. And she put on the dress, and she came out, and she really wanted to show her dad her dress. She was really excited to show him. But her dad was nowhere to be found. He wasn't in the house. He had left. He didn't care about her. He didn't want to see the dress. And that's what shaped her relationship with men, and why it was so hard for her and all this stuff. That wasn't even a real memory. She's like, I don't, like, when she rewired her brain and she started to deprogram herself, she's like, I don't remember the dress being a big deal. I don't think I cared about if my dad saw it or not. Like, he would do that. He would weasel his way into your memories.
Wow.
While you were exhausted, while you were maybe drugged up, while you were starved.
Yeah.
And he would reword them and, like, rewrite your history to the point where you didn't know what was reality and not anymore.
Jeez.
You know, I think there's also an element of, like, sometimes we just want things to make sense.
Yes.
You know, because I have clients that are like, oh, I have, like, some sexual hang-ups or whatever, and they're like, maybe something did happen to me. Like, they kind of want an answer as to why they are a certain way.
Yeah.
So much so that they would be relieved almost to have someone tell them, like, this is what it is. So there might have been a little bit of that going on, too.
That sounds exactly what was happening, especially at 19. If Isabella is this introverted, shy person, and, like, maybe that's just who she is.
Yeah.
And, like, instead of saying maybe it was because her mom had an addiction, you know, growing up and you're dealing with that, like, you know, why can't she talk to guys? Why can't she do this? Maybe she was a full ride scholarship. She obviously had her nose in the book. You know what I mean? Like, so she maybe wanted it to make sense. That was exactly what Daniel was saying. He just wanted it to make sense. Why was his relationship with his parents so hard? Why was his relationship with his girlfriend so hard? Why couldn't he figure out what he wanted to do?
And that's Larry coming in and saying,
Larry's like,
I have the exact answer that you're looking for.
Exactly what you need to do to have an amazing life.
Yeah.
And here it is.
Yeah.
Don't question it.
And it's like an older man and somebody that, like, you taught your whole entire life to, like, respect, like, the people that are older than you and, like, listen to what they have to say.
True. Yeah.
And Larry obviously knows this, and he's like, okay, perfect. So actually, everything that you've ever had any issue, any hang up with, here's the answer to that and how to fix it. And if you need help, I'm more than happy to help you get there.
Right.
And he, like, puts himself into, that's fucking crazies.
So
Disgusting.
Let's get into something else. I know that in the timeline of people leaving, I believe Daniel was the first to leave because he was definitely done with them by 2013 because he finally walked away from them. I forgot what was his breaking point, but something was, and he walked away. He went back to campus. He started ignoring their phone calls. He got a second job, picked up another class, kind of made it just seem like he didn't have time for them anymore.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, in 2013, which was his senior year, because they start between 2013 and 2016.
So they're, like, literally, like, our age, right?
They were our age at the same time. They were a year. Well, they were a year older than me, so 2 years older than you.
Okay.
Because I graduated in 2014. They graduated in 2013.
Yeah.
So between 2013 and 2016, Larry moved his operation, between the New York City apartment and a remote farmhouse in Pinehurst, North Carolina. Daniel didn't have any involvement with the farmhouse. That's how I know he was gone by 2013.
Okay.
The farmhouse was owned by Larry's stepfather, and just like he had done before, Larry completely took over the space. You guys didn't ask about the New York City apartment. Larry didn't own it.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, we were kind of
I just assumed he owned it.
So I mentioned a guy, Lee Chen, that was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was his apartment, and he let Larry stay in it after he got out of prison, and then Larry just took it over. And
Where'd
then,
Lee
like,
Chen go?
Lee Chen had to find new arrangements because he was like, what the heck? And he finally did get them evicted. I think it was it was like 2014 to 2016, they had a legal battle with, like, Claudia, Talia, Isabella Santos doing character witnesses for Larry, how amazing they were like, what is happening? So these people were saying on record how like these psycho things about Larry, how people are out to get him, whatever. Lee eventually won in 2016, but I'm just going to talk about 2013 to 2016 right now.
Yeah.
Okay? So the North Carolina property became a site of extreme physical labor and psychological torment.
Still woodworking or what?
Larry would force his victims to perform grueling, unnecessary tasks, digging trenches, moving heavy equipment, and performing physical labors for hours on end, often through the night, and in all hours of all types of weather. There's a video of this girl, Yalitza, who is Santos's other sister, who also got involved with the group,
Jeez.
digging in the rain
My God.
at night in a t-shirt. He justified these acts as training exercises meant to build discipline and strength, but in reality, they were just another way to break his victims. Larry maintained strict control over food and sleep, rationing meals, and determining when or if his followers could rest. He installed locks on the refrigerator and monitored every calorie consumed. He controlled their finances, communications, and movements, ensuring that none of them had the means or mental clarity to leave. Mm-hmm. But among those enduring his torment was Yalitza, Santos' other sister, who had become ensnared in Larry's influence through her brother. She was actually there before Felicia. Not too much about her, like started living in the New York City apartment, just also became part of it.
Mm-hmm. Are they like Latinas or?
Yes, they're Dominican.
Okay.
Yeah. Their parents are from the Dominican Republic. While initially drawn in by Larry's promises of self-improvement, Yalitza soon found herself trapped in the same psychological cycle of fear and control as the others. She was also another one that... So Larry didn't just say that Claudia had poisoned people. He said Claudia, Santos, and Yalitza had poisoned people. Mm. So she was also like feeling really shitty about herself, that she was poisoning her sister and her friends and Larry. But unlike some of the others, Yalitza was able to recognize that something was kind of deeply wrong. And the constant mental abuse and physical exhaustion pushed her to a breaking point.
Was she the younger sister?
I don't know. I know Felicia, I think they're both older than him. But Felicia's the oldest, and then Yalitza, and then Santos. Okay. So one night, while at the North Carolina house, she made the decision to leave. She fled the property in the dead of night, walking through the woods. She had no phone, no money, and no plan, just determined to get away from it all.
Yeah.
After hours of walking, she was able to reach a nearby town where she found help and contacted... she found help, but she got on a train, made her way back to New York City. She didn't contact her parents. Like, the reunion of the family was very hard because they had completely cut off their parents at that point. And it was just heartbreaking to watch the parents. So she found herself back in New York City. I think she stayed in a homeless shelter, started to build her life back up, and eventually, got back into somewhat of normalcy. Yeah. But her escape marked one of the first major cracks in Larry's grip over his victims. Her ability to break free proved that Larry's control, while powerful, was not absolute. Over time, more victims would follow her lead, slowly unraveling the twisted world Larry had built around them.
I wonder if she tried to convince her brother to go with her before she left. She didn't?
No, because she's in the documentary. She didn't. She just left. In the dead of the night, she just left, and she just kept walking and walking and walking. And I don't, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if she left to escape or she just left to go for a walk of clarity.
And then just...
But it kind of seems like the same thing happened with Daniel. Once there was a moment of peace and quiet is when your brain started being like, okay, because they were around each other all the time.
Yeah. And
like, it was like sensory overload all the time.
Yeah.
So it was Daniel, from my understanding, it was Daniel, Yalitza, and then I think Santos, and then Claudia.
Okay. It almost is showing that it's like, if these people are leaving, obviously this isn't like the best, because why else would they leave? Like, why would these people leave? Obviously your world that you've built isn't great. So hopefully that like kind of cracks into the other people.
Did he become more intense when people started leaving?
It's not really that much that we know about if it's changed as much, because the other people weren't as vocal.
Okay.
So by 2016, Larry was officially evicted from that New York City house, New York City apartment, and Larry, Isabella, and Felicia moved into a house in New Jersey owned by one of Larry's friends. So Talia was never one that had to always be there, I think because she was his daughter, because she had moved down to the house in North Carolina before him, and I don't think she was there during that time. She was able to kind of just live her life how she wanted to. I think she was applying to law school. She was doing like a bunch of other stuff. And everything she always did was like, Talia's amazing. She's great. She's going to do great things. But he still did want to have control over her. Yeah. But I don't know about Talia's account and if she was there, how often she was there. She's not speaking out.
Yeah.
But anyway, the three of them, Larry, Isabella, and Felicia, who has sexual relationships with both of them, and I don't really know how he's swinging it, are living in New Jersey now. As expected, Larry took over this place completely, controlling everything inside, just as he had done in the apartment. By this time, like I said, several members had already left the group, but those who remained were under his tight control. Larry used, the New Jersey home as a base for further manipulation. He, with the three of them, even the documentary actually went into the house and talked to Isabella and Felicia, and there was this whole like plastic drawer thing of like medical devices, like things like they had to do. They had to like strengthen their hands. They're so weak from the mercury poisoning. Like just totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
So by 2020, Larry's empire of control was crumbling. The psychological and financial abuse he had inflicted on his victims for nearly a decade was finally catching up to him. Former victims had begun to break free, and several reached out to law enforcement, including leading to a full-scale investigation into his crimes. In February of 2020, Larry was arrested in New Jersey by federal agents. He was charged with multiple crimes, including sex trafficking, extortion, forced labor, racketeering, and money laundering. The indictment detailed years of psychological torture, financial ruin, and sexual exploitation. Prosecutors accused Larry of systematically isolating his victims, coercing them into fabricated confessions of wrongdoing, and using those confessions to justify his extreme control over their lives. His trial began in early 2022, and the testimonies from his victims painted a horrific picture of his abuse. Claudia recounted how Larry had manipulated her into prostitution, forcing her to turn over every cent she earned while he monitored her actions. Daniel described the psychological torment of Larry's relentless interrogations and forced false confessions. Santos's parents testified about how they had been manipulated into selling their home to pay for debts their son allegedly owed to Larry, and debts that had been entirely fabricated. Evidence included hundreds of hours of recorded conversations, video footage of Larry's abuse, and meticulously kept financial records showing the vast sums of money he had extorted from his victims. The prosecution argued that Larry had effectively enslaved these young adults, subjecting them to years of mental and physical abuse while profiting off their suffering.
So, like, when he was finally arrested, who was left? Was anybody left?
Isabella and Felicia.
And
that's it.
And Talia, I guess, right?
Yeah, but she wasn't in the house. She wasn't living in Jersey.
Wow.
After weeks of testimony, the jury found Larry Ray guilty on all accounts.
Well, yeah, we got fucking videos from 10 years.
On all accounts. In January 2023, he was sentenced to 60 years in prison. And he's 65. The judge, in delivering the sentence, called Larry Ray a sadistic con man who had inflicted unimaginable trauma on his victims. The court acknowledged that his crimes had lasting scars, both financially and psychologically, on those he had manipulated. Isabella Pollock, one of Larry's most devoted followers, was also sentenced. She pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering and was sentenced to 52 months in prison. While her defense argued that she had been a victim herself, the court determined that she had played an active role in Larry's financial crimes and manipulation of others.
What do you think about that?
I agree.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that she was a victim, without a doubt.
It's such like a fine line of like being a victim.
Like, she's literally referred to as a lieutenant in like a New York Times article, like Larry's lieutenant. She was, in my opinion, just like a mean person. Mm-hmm. She had a little bit more power than everybody else. I don't believe she was really ever subjected to these interrogations, and she could have outbursts if she chose to. And she was like very controlling, and in the Hulu documentary they're talking to them.
So she like switched into she
kind of liked it, like, being in that role.
She believed him so wholeheartedly, or at least acted like it. I also think she was an abuser for sure. And I think that even though her defense said that she was a victim, I don't know if she ever believed that. In the documentary, she says that something that really rocked her was when this all went down, since Felicia and Isabella were still living with them, they were also potentially being charged if they didn't go against him, right?
Yeah.
And so they were actually living together still in that Jersey house, and Felicia got her own, I don't know if it was court ordered or whatever, but she got her attorneys, and so did Isabella, and they told Felicia that she should get as far away from Isabella, get her own apartment, it's better to be separate. And that's when Felicia really started the deprogramming. And the Hulu documentary is there for like the whole thing. It's crazy to see. Like, you see the moments where her mind goes off into like what she's remembering and if it's real or not. But with Isabella, she seemed to like, she stayed in the New Jersey house, she seemed steadfast in her support of Larry, and she said that her defense team felt that she was not competent enough to stand trial. And that really rocked her for some reason. She's like, why would they think that I'm incompetent? That's as ridiculous sort of thing. And then she even took an evaluation, and she was deemed competent to stand trial. Mm-hmm. I guess obviously what her defense team was saying, that she was manipulated and brainwashed, and like this is his involvement in her last the involvement in her life of the last 10 years is why she is the way that she is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But she really wasn't going to turn against him, but obviously I'm assuming jail time is what made her think about it. And, she eventually did plead guilty and, I think gave maybe statements or whatever the case is. And that's why she pled guilty and she did a plea deal, 52 months in prison.
Yeah.
But, I think I do struggle with when a victim becomes an accomplice, because it can happen.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like too, like she probably did start off that, but as soon as she was getting like these like positive reactions from
him,
Larry, she was like, oh shit, like I kind of like this, like, and then she just kind of went with it, and that became what she was about, because it's not fair for also her to necessarily get off with certain things because she was a victim.
She was keeping the meticulous ledgers of all the money people owed. She went there to bully Claudia into making the video that she wasn't coerced into anything. She, would be just there alongside of him, and she would start things too to she was horrible.
Because it's like I think it's completely like if you comparatively like put her up against like Daniel, put her up against like Santos or whatever, you know what I mean?
Abused.
Yeah, like you can see the treatment and how they interacted with the group differently.
With Larry Ray behind bars, his victims could finally begin to rebuild their lives, though the impact of his crimes would haunt them for years to come.
Yeah, it's going to be the rest of their lives. They're going to have to be in therapy.
Wild, yeah.
So that is the story of Larry Ray and the Sarah Lawrence sex cult that happened.
That's crazy, because it just like kind of just ended.
Just came to a conclusion in January of 23.
Yeah.
Wow. Imagine being their therapist out of this.
No.
Because it's like you just went through 10 years of like intense
fake therapy.
Like
that wasn't therapy. That was just pseudo garbage trash human.
That's fucking wild.
So we hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
I did not enjoy this. No.
I hope you guys are just as shocked as Jamie and Lexi. And I hope it got worse and worse for you. And we will catch you in the shadows.
Stay ghouly. Oh my God.